needs no introduction, but for those of you who aren't familiar with Mavis's work, Mavis is one of the most revered, inspirational mediums of our time. She is a teacher, a mentor, a lecturer. She's been serving Spirit and helping us grow in our connection with Spirit for, she says, 50 years, since the 60s. So we are so grateful because she's still growing strong with her love, her humor, her wit, and we are so blessed to have her here today. Mavis was one of the first tutors at the Arthur Findlay College in the UK. She comes to us here from the UK, and it is our sincere joy to welcome her. So please join me in welcoming Mavis.
When one speaks, one thinks they know what they're going to talk about. And as this wonderful, wonderful service has progressed, I've changed my mind a number of times. But you know, it's so remarkable, and I do thank you for this service, and for us to be here together and to see the healing taking place, both for the healers that were sat, but for the rest of you that were sending out your thoughts, because we were taking part in a miracle. And the miracle is that we can heal each other, that we can share, we can comfort, we can support, and we can uplift. And you know, we find so many people saying, oh, I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do the other. And yet we all can. And we can always be part of the great miracle of love. And particularly within the spiritual understanding and philosophy, because we know that the droplets of God that descend on us, and those thoughts that come into our mind, that uplift and strengthen and give us the courage sometimes just to go on. We know these are the droplets that come from the Great Spirit. And what a wonderful thought that we've sat here today, and that we've just opened our thinking, let go perhaps of the stresses that we have, and just dwelt in the droplets of God as they've descended. I wonder how far our thoughts have reached. I wonder who received that miracle and that blessing because you arrived here today, and that you sat quietly, unassuming, but with a goodness in your heart and a goodness in your mind. I wonder if it's reached the other side of the world, perhaps across the pond to the UK. But I wonder where those thoughts have gone. And I never will really know. But what I do know is that they have served. And it makes me aware that if we all can come together, we become one whole. You know, we are all part of one stupendous whole, whose body nature is, but God the soul. And when we look at that and we let go of the image of the physical and the emotional, and just look at ourselves as spiritual beings that carry the power and the presence of God within us, then we begin to recognize that we can stand tall, and we can stand proud, and we can stand accepting, and yet in accepting, giving. Because as we accept, it really will mean that we are serving. And for me, that's so important, that we are all in service. As you know, I travel quite extensively, and the one thing that worries me such a great deal is the fact that we always seem to feel that out there is somebody knows better than you. And yet nobody knows better than you about your life. You know what's right. You know the decisions to make. You know when it's time to pause and wait for a sign that rises from deep within your being, telling you, yes, it's okay now, you can walk on. So we know that that great architect's plan of our lives is residing deep within our being. And that is really gives you comfort, and it gives you strength, and it gives you courage. But so often we find we always go outward for the answer. Very rare do we turn inward. very rare can we actually understand that this great power that is termed God is within each and every one of us. We cannot be where God is not, because God travels with us. And every day of your lives, as you think about others, as you think about the philosophy, as you gain your understanding, remember you are taking part in a miracle. And that's the miracle of life, that's the miracle of loving, that's the miracle of sharing, and that's the miracle of hope. And it all dwells within you. And we can go searching the world, if we wish, to look for answers to all life's mysteries. We can search, and we can search. And yet as we're searching, we move away from, rather than to, the answer. For the answer is there within our being. We are all the droplets of God. We are all united in soul and in spirit, because we are of spirit. That is what we are. And for many people, when they lose a partner or a child, the grieving is so painful. It's so painful. And yet the God is the healer. That belief that the God source is there within our grief, trying to heal, trying to help us to understand, trying to get us to move forward with courage, with strength, and to seek the guidance from within. And how wonderful that must be for the God source. When you think, no, I'm not going to listen to Mavis Pittilla today, I'm going to listen to me. I'm going to seek that still small voice inside me that I know has the answer to what I need. I'm going to bid the spirit world to have a wonderful day today and not worry about me, because I can cope, because I have God within. And when we start to look at life like that, then we start to take on this glorious responsibility for the miracle of life, for the ability you and I have to think, to speak, to share, to love, the miracle of all things. And you know, even in your darkest moments, the very darkest place that you can find, and I know we've all been there. Each and every one of us has a story to tell about some dark place within the mind that we've been to. We've all dropped into that well of feeling, I can't go on any further or any longer. And then suddenly, a thought has risen from within the soul. A thought has risen and touched the mind. And as it touches the mind, it just gives us a question mark. I wonder if I can. I wonder if I dare. I wonder if I'll have enough strength or enough courage to take that leap of faith that will move me on in my life. And I believe when we talk about that leap of faith, we're talking about relying on the God source within, seeking out the answers that are the indwelling power of God. How many people have you already touched today? And as you've touched a person, God has touched that person. As you've been held, God has been held and was holding. Because we cannot be where God is not. And therefore, we know that sometimes it's not about us coming up with answers and solving people's life's problems. It's about saying, hold on, speak to that God within. Let that droplet of God come in to refresh and uplift and let it give you the opportunity to once more celebrate your life. For you are a miracle. That's who you are. I can see some of you going, Very hard, isn't it, to believe that that God source resides within. It's very hard, because we've spent the whole of our lives being told what to do, what's right and what's wrong. We've had all our lives people making judgments about us and complimenting or criticizing us. We've gone through our whole lives looking for other people's approval. But how often do we look for the approval of the God source within? And that's where we should go. And when they say about the silence, and I just absolutely love the songs this morning, they've changed my mind so many times. But when we look at them, the reality is that whatever we do, if we take God with us, if we actually talk to the God source within us, if we actually believe that there could possibly be a God source within us, then it will change our thinking, it will change our lives. It's very difficult to hold on to that, because you see, we're used to having symbols, or we're used to having signs, because we relate to something out rather than in. And how do we turn in? Because how can we visualize that God source within? And that's the biggest problem that we have. How do we visualize that there is this power within us that we often term the great intelligence, God, great spirit? We can't ever visualize, because there is no vision. God moves through all nations and yet marks each sparrow's fall. So we're not talking about a personality or a character. We're talking about a power, an essence of love that is beyond our comprehension. And it resides within us. So if we can't have a symbol, how are we going to actually believe it? By your feeling, how you feel when you are one with your God within. That moment in your darkest time, when suddenly that emotion of wealth and strength and courage rises up from deep within your being. Cannot visualize God, but you can feel him. He's the living power that actually keeps you moving across this earth. And within that power is your destiny, is your life. You know, we're all here to serve. Whether we're serving as nurses, teachers, doctors, whether we're serving in a library, no matter how our task at all, we have come with that task within our being. And it has been chosen perfectly to suit us. For some, it's mediumship. For others, it's the beauty of the great healing we've seen this morning. The top task is that God assigned you. I wonder what task God assigned you. I see writers, I see artists, I see nurses, I see mums, I see dads, I see brothers, I see sisters, aunts and uncles. The task that we've been given to actually be all these things on God's behalf. On God's behalf, not on our own. So when we look and widen our thinking, and that emotion rises from deep within your being, know your soul is moving, and know your spirit, which is that great God source, is there for you, and for you alone, at that moment in time. So it's wonderful to have the spirit world there, isn't it? It's wonderful for them to be there. But they can't break the law of personal responsibility. The wisdom of this great power was that we should always remember that we have our own responsibility to life and to all living things. Goodness, it can make you feel so humble and yet so proud at the same time. Not proud in arrogance, see what I've done, where I've been, but the pride that I have touched the quality and the presence of God within me. And I felt that this morning, when we came together for the healing, you could feel the souls rising, the conscious mind just reducing its murmuring, and the soul and the spirit rising. And as it rose, God was present, and miracles happened. You are the miracle. You are the hope and the future for the Great Spirit. You are his eyes, his hands. You are his heart. You are his love. You are all things to the Great Spirit. And forever we shall be in service to that power that keeps the heavens and the seasons and the cycles of life moving and changing. And when we look at the stars and the moon and the sun and nature, O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the works thy hands have made, I see the brook, I hear the mighty thunder, thy power throughout this universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Saviour God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mavis. Wow. Come back to earth and do the offering.